Good morning and welcome to Purdue University Ross-Ade Stadium, site of today's game between number one Ohio State Buckeyes and the Purdue Boilermakers. I'm Tom Moore, joined by Tony Gerdeman of BuckeyeHuddle.com. Tony, we got to start with the availability report today because there is some rather consequential news on there for Ohio State involving two offensive linemen. We knew one was not going to play. Now we know the identity of that person, but there's also another one who's questionable, and that would raise some bigger questions for Ohio State.
Certainly so. Joshua Padilla is out. He is your backup center, also mixing in at right guard with Tegri Shabola throughout the game. He is out. Philip Daniels, starting right tackle, is questionable, which if he can't go, that's going to change some things, change quite a few things maybe as to what Ohio State wants to do. So there's a possibility they're down two of their top six.
Yeah.
So we know Josh Padilla is their number 6. Philip Daniels, starting right tackle. We'll see. We'll monitor, but that's the latest right now.
And two of the top 6, that's a significant number in my mind because it feels like you've obviously you're starting 5, but it feels like with the way they've been mixing Padilla in, you can kind of say he's starter-ish, sort of a starter adjacent maybe. You haven't seen them mix in guys 7 and 8 really during the first quarter, second quarter of games. So if they are down 2 guys, and again, just questionable in the case of Philip Daniels. So if you're just down 1 guy out of your top 6, it should kind of keep rolling as it has. If you're down 2 guys, I feel like I have a sense for what they would do in terms of starting right tackle, and it's an Indiana native.
Yeah. Most likely, Ian Moore would move to right tackle. He's backup left tackle is probably I guess we'll find out if he is the number 3 tackle. Philip Anianwa battled with Philip Daniels to be that right tackle. He's since moved to right guard, and now we'll see if there's some mixing in, some rotating back at right guard again. But yeah, I would assume it would be Ian Moore. As you said, Indiana native, chance to get him a start at home. There's also a thing with Tom, if this was Michigan, would Philip Daniels go? And since it's Purdue, can you keep him out so that you don't aggravate anything? Although we've seen over this year, if somebody's ready, they're going to go ahead and play him. Like, was it Sonny Styles or somebody was questionable leading into the Grambling State game? It's like, no, they're fine. Go ahead and play him. We'll see. It would be interesting to get a good long look at Ian Moore, though.
Yeah, and it would be interesting to get a good long look at Ian Moore. It would also be interesting to get a good long look at Quincy Porter, true freshman wide receiver. He's also listed as questionable for today, and this is one of those games where the line's 28. Purdue certainly has some questions in the secondary, and Purdue has moved the ball okay, but really doesn't have the explosiveness on offense. So the question is, can they move the ball down the field sort of methodically against Ohio State, like they did against Michigan last week?
Yeah.
So they can, and that was on the road. This is at home, so possibly. But this is also a game where, with the questions that Purdue secondary has, and with the big play issues that Purdue secondary has had, this is quite possibly a game where Ohio State could be up enough that you'd be looking to some of your younger wide receivers, some of your younger, all these kind of backup guys to potentially get them in. This is a game where I would love to see a bunch of Mylan Graham, Indiana native, and then Quincy Porter as well. But now Quincy Porter is questionable, and this would be a great opportunity to get him on the field, potentially, if he's healthy enough to go.
Would you love to see a bunch of Mylan Graham go off today, Tom?
Well, it would be, it wouldn't, with him being an Indiana native, it wouldn't be particularly bold to suggest that he might go off, but, it would be, you would like to see some of these younger guys, I'm sure that everyone would enjoy seeing, hey, Jeremiah Smith had a big day, hey, Carnell Tate had a big day. I'm expecting Max Clare to get some attention, as we both sort of anticipated earlier in the week as a former Purdue player with a younger brother on the Purdue team. And he said earlier in the week, 50 family members here. I'm sure they would love to get Max Clare a touchdown in front of, literally half of the stadium that's here to root him on.
Do you know who's playing Max Clare on the Purdue scout team?
Is it his younger brother? Yeah, that sounds. He would be in a good position to do so. So, yeah, it's.
Do you think how you imitate your older brother? Is like, okay, you're the scout team, Max Clare, but doy.
Look at me, I'm a big jerk. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting dynamic there with Clare not only playing his former team, where he said he doesn't know that many guys because they had a ton of turnover on this team after Brian Walters was fired at the end of last season. So, this is not going to be Max Clare knows 75 guys on the Purdue team or anything like that. He's going to know some, and he's obviously going to know his brother quite well. But I think that's going to be one of those storylines to watch. Let's hit the rest of the availability report real quick before we do any, do the sort of rest of the game breakdown. Questionable, as we said, Philip Daniels and Quincy Porter. We'll keep an eye on those guys during pregame warmups and let you know what we're seeing. Guys who are out. Defensive end Logan George. He's been out several weeks now. He's another guy where it's like, boy, I would love to see him in this is the kind of game where you'd love to see him get some extended run. He is out. Blake Hartford, out. Des Jones, he's out. Mason Maggs out. Josh Padilla out, as we said. Turbo Rogers out. Max Roy and Ahmed Tunkara. Really, those are all injuries. Those are all guys who were hurt last week as well, with the exception of Josh Padilla. So, other than Padilla and Daniels, everyone else is sort of trending in the right direction. Porter was out last week. He's, questionable this week. So, again, trending in the right direction. But, the offensive line to me, I guess, in terms of questions, drama around this game, I guess that's sort of where I would sort of start with things. How well, this is not a Purdue team that has an incredible pass rush by any means, but can Ohio State run the ball if it's Ian Moore at right tackle, and can he hold up and give Julian Sain time to throw?
Great question, Tom. That's
dynamite drop in, Monty.
That's something this is a great opportunity for Ian Moore, and whether he starts or not, but even. Will they go to will they continue to rotate at right guard? Will they get Ethan Onion with some snaps? But, because is that more about letting Tegra take a look from the sideline at what's going on? Or is that more about, this next guy in needs to play because he's playing well enough in practice to earn snaps? So if there is no rotation at right guard, how effective is Tegra Shabola throughout this game? Pass pro and run blocking, because when Julian Sain got drilled last week with what ended up being roughing the passer, that was Shabola's guy that came around and just destroyed Julian Sain. So, how well is that right side of the line, and can it be trusted? Because if Tegra with his up and down season, I think he's getting a little bit better, but the up and down season and then not knowing exactly what you're going to get from right tackle. Does that change what they want to? Does that make them left-handed?
It could change some of your play calling. It could change, and you can potentially you can read anyone you want to read. So do you read the guy who you're concerned might be coming off of, and then you sort of put yourself in a position where you can't, if you read it correctly, you can't be wrong. Maybe you do something. You're looking at something like that. Definitely the issues. You go back to the Wisconsin game, for example. The right side of that offensive line is where you have seen a lot of those issues, and sometimes it's Shabola, sometimes it's Daniel, sometimes it's someone just went between Shabola and Daniel, so I will give each of you a negative 0.5 on this play. Of all the really of the offense on the offensive line, that's been where the questions are. You would assume that the guys behind them are probably not going to be as there's a reason they're the guys behind them, so you would maybe have more issues there potentially. You wonder if that's just, you put Will Kazmarek on that side of things, or, your pass pro, you tell whoever, CJ Donaldson or whoever's in the backfield, look right first. Make sure the right side's okay in terms of pass rush before you look left.
But also, this is, if you are 5, 6, 7, 8 on the Ohio State offensive line, you should be okay. You should be okay. So there will be a level of, let's see. And if they stop being okay, then you become left-handed or whatever. You work around it. You find a workaround. But yes, they should be. These are guys that would probably be playing here if they were on this team. So they should be able to handle things. Now you're not going to win necessarily every snap, but you shouldn't be at a disadvantage going to your 6th and 7th offensive lineman here.
Right. Yeah. This is a game where if you're playing Alabama or Texas A&M or even Indiana, maybe that's one thing. This is kind of a little bit of another. The Purdue defense, their big issue, they are 75th in the nation in SP Plus right now. They're exactly 75th in offense and exactly 75th in defense. That doesn't normally happen. Normally you're better in one area, better in another. Purdue's pretty good in special teams. They're 20th in special teams, but offense and defense are both subpar for even just a power conference team. But they are getting better. We've seen them. We watched the Michigan game. they were, Michigan helped them out a good bit. Bryce Underwood did not have a good game in that game, but Purdue also limited Michigan to a certain degree. Jordan Marshall, however, was able to run the ball against them, and that's where, if Ohio State can run the ball, and run the ball, I'm not saying a bunch of 80-yarders. I'm saying, can you average 5 yards a carry? If Ohio State can average 5 yards a carry, Ohio State can do whatever they want today.
Yeah, no, for sure. Just getting that established and leaving those short third downs, or not even getting to third downs. There will be some drives where would not be shocked if there are no third downs for the Buckeyes here today. But yeah, if they're able to run the game, that opens everything else up. But Tom, even if they can't, I don't think that closes things down.
No. This is a Purdue defense that has been vulnerable against the pass and vulnerable against the big play, and so it's you would say this is a game where Ohio State should be able to hit some big shots, and Purdue is really going to. We use this phrase all the time, and we hear opposing coaches use this phrase all the time. And I'm pretty sure Julian Sain used it during interviews this week. Pick your poison. You have to pick your poison against the Ohio State defense. Do you want to keep them from running the ball? Do you have to dedicate more resources? Okay, but then you're leaving yourself vulnerable to deep shots. If you're going to play 3 deep across the back to try and keep them from hitting big shots, then you're a little light in the box, and then can Ohio State run the ball against you? I expect Ohio State to be able to throw the ball deep to a certain degree in this game, almost no matter what. You can't double everyone. We constantly see teams try to come up with creative ways to take away Jeremiah Smith. If you take away Jeremiah Smith and you have we've got a corner and we have a safety, we've got them bracketed about that side of the field. Well, that's a corner and a safety who are not on the other side of the field worrying about Carnell Tate or worrying about Max Clare down the field.
Well, and Jermaine Matthews said it this week when he was asked who is more difficult to defend, Carnell Tate or Jeremiah Smith. He's like, well, Carnell Tate, because Jeremiah Smith is always going to have a safety there helping out. So that alone makes things a little bit easier when you've got the safety help. Whereas against Carnell, you don't necessarily have that. And it's just you one-on-one. Now, there were a few times last week where they did double those 2 guys, and when that happens, you take advantage of the other areas. And we saw Brandon Ennis running wide open down the middle of the field for a 29-yarder. So there will continue to be areas to attack the defense, regardless of what they want to do. And even if they want to have a shell and maybe free up the running game, they'll also free up the RPO and picking and choosing, who are you reading on that one. Whatever the linebacker does, you either hand it off or throw for 8 or 9 yards. And if they're going to play off of the receivers, then again, 7, 8, 9 yards, boom.
Yep.
No problem.
So, and then on the other side of the ball for the defense, we saw Purdue's game plan against Michigan. I would certainly expect to see much the same game plan this week against Ohio State. It was a lot of take the snap, get the ball out real quickly, negate the pass rush that way, try and hit a bunch of short, easy 5-6 yard passes. Maybe you break a tackle and that turns into a 15-yarder, but you get yourself into 2nd and 4, you convert your 3rd and 5, whatever it is. Just sort of try and stay on schedule. I'm assuming that's the game plan for Purdue. Purdue did not run the ball particularly well against Ohio State, against Michigan. Devin Mockabee, their star running back, out for the season, so you can sort of cross him off your list of concerns for Ohio State. Can Purdue do that against Ohio State? It feels like secondary has certainly been a question for Michigan, and some of the tackling in the secondary has been a question for Michigan this year in a way that you really haven't seen it for Ohio State. So I would have concerns for Purdue's ability to do that sort of methodical chunk by chunk down the field offense.
Well, and they had their number 2 and number 3 running back, Purdue, averaged 4 or 5 yards a carry against Michigan, but again, Michigan was without a couple of linebackers, so don't draw too much from that. Yeah, you wouldn't think they're going to be doing much running, and this is one where they may average 3 or 4 yards per carry, but how long do they stick with it?
Right.
That just becomes a thing where, they may do 20 carries for 80 yards, which would be great, but over the course of a game, it's like it's not enough.
Right. Yeah. That will keep Ohio State's offense off the field, which is good. But you're going to have to string together enough of those steady plays without necessarily having the explosives to sort of shortcut your way to the end zone. That's where I think you may run into issues where Purdue may be able to string together first downs. I would have concerns about them being able to go 80 yards in 10 plays. What was the drive against Michigan last week? It was 9 minutes and something, and it was like 15 plays and 90-something yards. You could do that, You can't do that.
You can do it once.
You can do that once, right? It's watch this trick. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Well, now, and that's just a probability thing. The odds that you're going to be able to complete, you're going to be able to convert 6 third downs in one drive. Like at some point, that gets more difficult. And against a defense like Ohio State, it's going to get more difficult. So, I think. I don't think we're doing a particularly good job hiding what our expectations for this game are, but we did our predictions at Buckeye Huddle. What did you have and why?
I went 42-7 because I wanted to go with a shutout, but when you do that, random things like C.J. Donaldson fumbling, inside the red zone, just random things like that. So I don't expect a 9-minute drive from Purdue this week. I do expect complete domination. Ohio State. My only question is, how much does Ohio State want to do offensively? And we'll find out. But I could see them just pouring it on through the air in the first half and just getting out to a lead. But also, they want to work on the running game, so maybe they do that here. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's a possibility with them launching a Heisman campaign, official school-sanctioned Heisman campaign for Julian Sayin and Jeremiah Smith. I would certainly expect them to be looking for Julian Sayin to Jeremiah Smith for 55 yards for a touchdown. I think you're going to be looking to take some of those shots. I'm sure they would love to have Julian Sayin cross the 400-yard passing bear mark this week, but also they are going to want to keep him healthy, get him out while the getting's good. No need to keep him in for 60 minutes of a game that you're up 50 points just to run up stats. I expect you're going to see them try and run the ball some, but I think you're going to see 250 passing yards in the first half. I think that's a real possibility that you're going to try and get some numbers for Sayin, get some numbers for Tate, get some numbers for Smith, get a touchdown for Max Clare. And then at some point in the second half, you're probably shifting gears a little bit to, okay, you're up by 35 points, keep everyone healthy, keep the clock moving, get out of here, and get 1 week closer to the Michigan game. Because that game is only 3 weeks away right now. As hard as it is to believe, we're already 3 weeks from the Michigan game, and that is really kind of, I know, Tony, they got to take it 1 week at a time, and they got to focus on the opponent at hand. I'm sure everyone is keenly aware they do not need to double check the countdown clock in the Woody to know that the Michigan game is 3 weeks away at this point.
What did your score?
I picked 45-7. It was, I mean, not all of us are haters. Don't believe in the Ohio State special teams. Listen, they're going to at some point.
I had 14 field goals.
Well, red zone issues. Well, depends on how you look at it. Yeah, it's somewhere in that range. And could it be 52-7? Sure. Could it be 52-0? Sure. Could it be, could they call off the Dogs a little early and it's 38-3, 10, whatever? Yeah, sure. But it's going to be somewhere in that range. Ohio State, I think, is favored by about 4 touchdowns. I would expect them to cover that in this game. It's one of those things where if they want to hit it, if they want to hit that number, they can hit that number. It's just a matter of how long they want to stay involved and keep the starters in there and stay aggressive. So we will be back after the game to break this all down for you, have our live post-game press conference with Ryan Day and the Buckeye players. We'll have all that coming for you and more later on after the game. Make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle, and hit that bell as well so you're notified when we do those live shows. We'll have all that coming for you as soon as the clock hits 0. So we'll see you guys after the game.